Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat Podcast. We are here this evening to preview Tottenham's next game at Goodison Park away at Everton. Spurs are currently in the top four. Everton are in the bottom three. They are in the relegation zone right now. To preview this game with me, I've got three very special guests, three returning guests, channel regulars. Craig Dearman's back with us. Craig, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, Chris. Yeah, not too bad. It's unusual to have this many games in a week, so it's quite good having a couple of days break. I hope we get that next season for the right reasons, as in being in Europe and loads of cups. So fingers crossed we can do that.
Absolutely. Also back with us is channel regular and entertainer Gary Maloney. Gary, how are you?
Yeah, really well, mate. Sorry, I thought that was Craig's younger brother there for a second. I didn't realise it was
a clean-shaven really Craig. Does it make him look younger then?
No. I'm looking forward to this, but I'm still trying to relax after the Brentford game. Stress. And I think, if I'm right, you were there, Gareth, weren't you? You flew over?
Yeah, I was at the game. Yeah, brilliant game to go at. But see, to be honest, Gary, every game I've been at this year has been so enjoyable. I mean,
yeah, you've had some good ones, isn't it?
Fifth game this season, and I've been to 4-1s, and the Chelsea game we lost. But even the Chelsea game, it was quite entertaining, even though we lost, and it was one of them things. It was, compared to going to the AC Milan game last season, where we drew 0-0, and we took off Pesky for Sanchez with 7 minutes left. No, it's just a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Well, also back with us is Gareth McGuinness, of course, channel regular and UEFA licensed football coach. Gareth, how are you? And let's start the show with you. Let me start by asking, how are you feeling right now as a Spurs fan? Because, of course, these last few years have been tough. And in the last 6 months has certainly put a smile on everyone's faces.
No, it's fantastic, Chris. I mean, I've been over so many times this year. Whenever I can get a chance, I get over it. I think I've been to 5 games or something like that. So, which, coming from Ireland's not easy to get over and stuff. So it's great, like 24-hour trip just over and back, and it takes a lot of review. Like, I'm still feeling quite tired today, but brilliant. To be at the games, the tagging football is excellent. A lot of positivity amongst the fans. And Chris, I mean, if you can't win anything, at least try. And that's what we're seeing at the moment. But disappointing to go to the FA Cup. But or not, Chris, we can't really complain, can we? We're where we are in the league. Only 3 teams in front of us, so everyone's talking about being these 3 great sides, and we're not that far behind them, Chris. We've had a lot of injuries. So, I mean, I think we're doing really, really well to be where we are, and it's not just the results, it's the performances as well.
Absolutely. Well said. Craig, how are you feeling right now as a Spurs fan? Because, of course, we're going to get into this preview, but Spurs are back in the top 4, which... when you look back, a year ago or so, if you would have said that we'd be in the top 4 under another new manager, with the amount of problems, injuries, suspensions, on the pitch problems, off the pitch problems for Ange Postecoglou, it's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, he's single-handedly almost turned this club around. I mean, we were so low at the end of last season, and then, to have him come in relatively... he's an experienced manager, but not many of us knew that much about him. And obviously, we learned a lot very quickly, and we saw what he was going to bring to the club football-wise. But we weren't quite sure how it was going to go. And my God, has it gone? It couldn't have gone much better. Let's face it. And to lose your best player day before the season starts, and everything he's had to deal with injuries and suspensions and everything like that. And finally, now we seem to be getting players back. I did notice that South Korea were 1-1. It went to extra time with Australia. I don't know how that game's gone. As though somebody in the comments can keep
Sonny has done it.
He scored a free kick, and then
did
Australia's
he? Oh my God!
10 men now, so there's like 5 minutes left, and Australia's only 10 men. So I'd imagine they're going to get the semi-final.
well, good for Sonny. I mean, obviously you're going to want him to do well, but again, 90 plus 6 minutes, almost the last minute of the game, and they go through. So could be written in the stars for them, But look, yeah, going back to Ange and the club, it's just been phenomenal. Really look. I think the main thing is I'm just looking forward to seeing Spurs play every week. Yeah. And we had a couple of years of that where we weren't being entertained. I just look forward to each game now and watching it, which is what it's all about, isn't it? And the personality of the man, he's got such a dry sense of humour. If anybody's not seen his press conference when I don't know if you're going to cover it later, Chris, but when he said earlier that he said that he wanted to make a signing on deadline day, but the club weren't too happy with it.
Do you know what, Craig? Save your breath. Let's hear from Ange on this very point.
Happy with that window?
Excellent.
Yeah, look, it's been, I think I said last week, I think from our perspective, we had some clear objectives in there. And one was we obviously, we had a real sort of gap at centre-back, particularly after letting Davison Sanchez go after the window closed last time. And, getting Rado in early was great. Obviously getting Timo in early was also, excellent for us with, the kind of injuries we've had at the moment and absences, particularly with Sonny away. And the beauty of getting them in early is they've already made a contribution. If you leave it to the last day, which would have been yesterday, then, it still takes guys time to settle, but they've both settled in really well. And even in terms of outgoings, I think, we got some good loans. Alejo left yesterday, and he was developing well with us, but obviously got the injury. But great for him to get some game time now in a good league at a good club. Ashley Phillips, Selfie Divine. So, from all those aspects, probably the only disappointing one was yesterday. I thought there was a really good opportunity for us, and the club just didn't feel, they didn't feel it was the right move for us, so disappointed with that, but we ended up at Ferrari, so we just have to cop it. Oh, look at you all, you were ready to type away. I was going to pause just to let his phone blow up. But
Threw me.
No,
though.
it was a good one, mate. It was good.
You threw me.
That's right, go on.
Sorry.
Simply fantastic from Ange. That's exactly what we love to see, isn't it, Craig?
It is. That was Bridgie who did that too, wasn't it, as well? So it made it funnier, didn't it? But he took it in good humour. Which it was. I must admit, because obviously I watched it and I thought, hang on, what's he talking about? Is this a first sort of controversial thing he said? Not, oh God, yeah, of course he's joking. But yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You wouldn't have got that from Conte, would you? So
absolutely not. What a difference. Gary, let's come to you. Let's talk about the January transfer window. Of course, Spurs have got 3 players over the line. Timo Werner, Radu Dragusin and Lucas Bergvall had his medical today at Hotspur Way. What have you made of Tottenham in the January transfer window? You're happy? Because when you look at what other clubs have done, clubs even like Arsenal haven't even signed a player in the window.
No, listen, we've got to say, I think we're probably one of the best, if not the best, in this January transfer window. And you're limited to what you can do. But I was surprised by that one yesterday, last minute, but brilliant. I've probably, like Craig and Gareth, and I know you would have, Chris, I've already seen his reels, and, you can't really look too much into stuff like that because they always make the reels look amazing and stuff like that, but he does look really good. And Chris, when the other week was at Old Trafford, we both said a similar thing about Timo Werner. We said, we don't think he's going to get loads of goals, but he's going to impact games. He's going to get assists. And that's what he's doing. And the same conversation, with Richarlison. All right, he had that injury, come back, and a lot of people sitting on the fence, but he's started a few games and he's flying. And I think we've probably had the best January transfer window. It's been really positive, honestly. I'm really, really pleased with it. I don't think we could have done much more than what we've done because you're limited in January. So I think it's all positive at the moment. So yeah, really good.
Gary, you were extremely complimentary about Timo Werner. Let me tell everyone. Let me tell all the viewers, because Gary and I both did short interviews with the Daily Mail outside Old Trafford before the Manchester United v Spurs game, and the interviewer, Josh, of course, a regular on this channel, asked Gary who would he prefer, Ivan Toney, Timo Werner, and there were so many strikers, or Timo Werner, and Gary most of the time, if not all answers were Timo Werner. You seem to be quite taken with it.
I actually seen
really
this
like
today, Gary. I seen this video, and he actually says that you preferred Richarlison over Harry Kane as well.
Yeah, because he was on about. He said when Harry came back, or he said something about swapping for Maddison and Son, and I was like, no, I'm not losing Maddison. And he was like, what about Richarlison for Kane? But you got to take Dyer, and I was like, nah, you're right. I mean, I don't think you should go back. I think Kane will come back one day. But let's be honest with you, we're playing great football. We're playing as a team. And Timo Werner, I'll say something about Timo Werner, which I didn't really pay much attention to up until the other day. But I love him in his post-interviews and stuff like that. He's got a lovely way about him. He comes across really nice and humble. And I love that. And listen, Chris, like we said in those interviews outside Old Trafford, he will be a nuisance. He will get a lot of assists and he's got a lot of pace. And he's already showing it. You know, I don't think he's going to get the goals like Richarlison, but, you know, I don't think anyone thinks that. But I really do think he's going to make a massive difference, you know? And I'm really happy. I like him.
Well, of course, as I said, Spurs are back in the top 4. That feels really good to say that. Now, of course, our next game is Everton. On Saturday afternoon, it is the lunchtime kickoff, 12:30. Now, head-to-head in Premier League history, 63 games played. Everton have only won 9 of those 63 games. Spurs have won 30, 10 of them being at Goodison. 24 of them have finished as a draw. Gareth, let's come to you first on this. Your favourite memories of this fixture, Everton, Spurs, Spurs, Everton, because when you look at those stats there, Spurs have won 30 out of 63. We have a pretty good record against them.
Yeah.
We do. Like, I think up until maybe Man City have been really dominant. Although we've had some wins over there since they have been dominant. Goodison and Man City have kind of been our 2 famous away grounds for good results. It's at times of great memories. I can't remember any, you know, apart from the one possibly where we won 6-2. We were fantastic that day. I think Son got a couple and Kane got a couple. Yeah. But there hasn't been too many. I don't think, maybe you remember, Chris, but I can't remember.
Do you know that particular game, Gareth, the Spurs away end was singing to the home end, "You should have gone Christmas shopping." That was a good one.
It was 2 days before Christmas. That's right. It was 23rd of December. I remember watching it in the pub. It was a Sunday at 4 o'clock or something like that. It was a fantastic. And I think that was around the time that United fans and Gary Neville they were really wanting Pochettino, because I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was sacked, or not, Mourinho was sacked that week. And they wanted Pochettino, funny enough. And at that time, you know, Pochettino was gold dust to us. But, you know, it's one of them fixtures where it's always a tight game, Chris. Although we've had some good results up there, apart from that 6-2, I can't remember too many other times we went up there and completely thrashed them. It's always a tight game. There's, as you say, 24 draws on there out of the 60-odd games. So it tells you that it can be quite tight. I'm expecting a really difficult game, Chris. But the way we're playing at the moment, we can beat anyone. And I mean, just some of the points Gary made, I thought as well, you know, a lot of fans quickly jump on Daniel Levy, but Spurs were in a position in this January window. They go and spend a bit of money. You look at Arsenal, we're hearing even all our teams are very close to the FFP guidelines, and we're able to manage. So I think that's crucial. And again, it should not hold us back in the summer to go again. So, but getting back to the game, it's definitely a winnable game, but it won't be easy, Chris. People are saying, you know, Everton bottom 3. I think that's one reason. Down to Luton's form of the last couple of games has been very good. But also the fact they've been deducted 10 points, they will be sitting 11 for 12th. So it's, and as you seen before Christmas, when they came to us, Chris, that was probably our most fortunate 3 points this season, because after the first 30 minutes, we were bossed for 60 minutes. But Everton have been on a poor run since. So, you know, you got to think we'll play better. I think that was around the time as well. There was a lot of games, Chris, and we were about stretched with players. We've got a bit more strength and depth at the minute. As shown the other night when I made that substitution at half-time, because when I was at the game, Chris, very different atmosphere to last year, where if we were losing at half-time or 0-0, there would have been a lot of boos and a lot of groans. There was more disappointment in that first half than there was people, you know, getting agitated. But the half-time substitution was fantastic and completely flipped the game. So it's great to have them options again. And I'm sorry, should be back. I'll be surprised if he starts, but he should be on the bench, so that's another option. So we're in a good place, Chris. And a time where Everton back in the bottom 3, a bit more negativity, it's probably a good time to play them.
Craig, let's come to you. Now, Everton's only victory in the past 22 Premier League meetings with Tottenham was a 1-0 away win in September 2020. That was during COVID times. And the last 4 encounters at Goodison have ended level. How are you feeling going into this game?
I'm feeling quietly confident. Look, I said the other night, it's never an easy place to go, Goodison. You know, it's one of the old grounds, crowd are close to the pitch. When they're really behind the team, it's a bit of a cauldron. But as I said, you know, if we can get an early goal, we can silence the crowd, and I think that's going to be important. I personally think we're going to have too much from them. I think on paper anyway, our squad's stronger, and we should win again on paper. by a couple of goals, you would say, but you just don't know, do you? They're scrapping for their lives. They're not going to want to get relegated, of course. So, and Sean Dyche is a master of that. He's been there, done that, hasn't he? So he will get them playing. And like Gareth said, that game at our place was a tight match. We were lucky in that game. So, they're not to be taken lightly. But I think we're just going to have enough to get over the line. I don't like the early kickoff on Saturday because, as I said the other night as well, if you don't get the result you want, it's pretty horrible the rest of the weekend. But if you do get off to a good start and win your game, then you can just sit back and relax. So I think it's going to be a tough game, but I think we're just going to have a bit too much for them. I think they've had a day's extra rest than us, but professional footballers and that, so they should be fit enough to get through the game, you would hope.
Gary, Everton at the moment, Sean Dyche is pretty frustrated because Everton have so many injuries. I know us as Spurs fans have had that frustration this season with the amount of injuries, but Gay is expected to be back in contention following his return from the Africa Cup of Nations. Coleman, Onana, Danjuma, Doucouré, who has been their standout player this season, and Gomez are all not expected to feature. Surely that is going to help Spurs.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's good Danjuma ain't playing because, like Craig touched on, he came so close, didn't he? It was the woodwork or whatever right at the end. I really don't know how Vicario kept that out. It was insane. And it's always typical Sod's Law, something like that. Would have just grabbed the draw at the end and it would have been an ex-Tottenham player. So I do feel, though, I am confident. And I think out of all the teams, it's one of those teams we do score a lot of goals against and we have got a really, really good record. Admittedly, though, one of the highest goal scorers. It
is actually a record, Gary, 100.
Yeah, 100 Premier League goals. Yeah. But the other thing I will say, though, top of that list was Harry Kane, who we ain't got no more. Then there's Robbie Keane. And then there's Son, who's away. And we don't have Dele Alli. But I still do feel, without all of them players that have scored those goals, we are going to go up there and we are going to comfortably beat them. And I really do. And I'll touch on another thing because
we've got a striker now better than Harry Kane as well, Gary.
So again?
We've got a striker now as well that's better than Harry Kane.
Yeah, no, admittedly. I mean, Harry Kane got 15, I think it was, against Everton. But I just feel with the team and the way that Everton play, it'll just be Richarlison will go and get that record. But I just want to touch on the games that you said because I remember when we beat them 5-0. I think it was in March 22. And that was a good game. Yep. I just remember the football we played against them and stuff like that was absolutely amazing. I think the biggest, I think you might know this, Chris, I think there was a really big one, wasn't there, back in the 50s? And I think was it 10-4?
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, you know. I think you was about 15.
Hold on. That 5-0 was when the Spurs fans were singing to Frank Lampard, "You're getting sacked in the morning." Yeah, I remember that.
I was actually at that game.
That was an absolutely amazing game, and the football we played in that game was brilliant. But I always kind of put Everton and Harry Kane together because whenever we play Everton, Harry Kane was always getting goals. But I will say, I'm very, very confident tomorrow. The early kickoff doesn't really suit us a lot of the time, but I do feel we're going to go up there, and we've scored a lot of goals against Everton over the years. Like you touched on yourself, 100 goals since the Premier League. But you go right back. We beat them 10-4 once. Like crazy, like scores like that. So it's one of those teams where we just love a goal against them. So I think it's going to be a really good game. And I'm predicting minimum 3 goals.
Gary, when we look at the top 4 now, of course, Spurs have now played 22 games, won 13, drawn 4, lost 5. Goal difference of plus 14. We have at 43 points. We're now only just 3 points away from North London rivals Arsenal, champions Manchester City. Of course, they've only played 21, and Liverpool are way ahead at the moment. They've got an 8-point lead over us. Only lost 1, and of course that was against Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium with that strange VAR decision or cock up, if you like. When you look at that league table, we've lost the 5 games, and even Ange said in his press conference on Friday afternoon, we were still in those games. Although we lost games, we were still in them. It's not like we were heavily beaten. I know we were heavily beaten by Chelsea, but when you look at how the game went against 9 men, we were in the games until the very end. How would you describe Tottenham's season?
Listen, we've been playing amazing football. You know, I think the only game you could really say this season, which we wasn't in and didn't play well, was the one against City in the Cup. You know, that had sort of kind of reminded me of the Carabao Cup final. It was a bit like that. And even that, we kind of lost to a dubious sort of, it could be, might not be a foul, but ultimately right near the end. But every league game that we've lost, we've been there or thereabouts. We haven't, you know, even going out the Carabao Cup, I know we made 9 changes, but we was right there to the death with penalties, you know, and obviously, I mean, well, we won't even mention Sanchez, but why he took a penalty, I still don't know. But other than...
It was 10 changes.
10 changes, there you go, see, crazy. But apart from the Man City game, I don't think we've been out of any game. That's the only game I would say this season. I think every Premier League game that we have lost, we've lost what, Villa, West Ham. It's been very, very small margins, Chris, you know, and ultimately you think we've done that with suspensions and players injured. I mean, I will say, you know, Maddison just come back in that Man City game. So he got 10, 15 minutes, didn't really do anything, but what a difference he made in the game against Brentford, you know. But it's just so odd with Tottenham, because I watched that Man City game and I felt Højbjerg had an absolute awful game. He was terrible. But then he comes on against Brentford second half and he was brilliant. You know, so it just depends on the day and how these players play. But if they're playing good and they're up for it, we can beat anyone, Chris. We really, really can. Anyone above us as well.
Gary, let me come back to you on that Pierre-Emile Højbjerg point, because, of course, he had the chance to leave. A couple of clubs come in for him. He had the chance to leave in this January transfer window. He decided to stay because something special is happening at Tottenham. Are you surprised and are you pleased that he decided to stay, of course, alongside Brian Hill, who also had offers to move away?
No, I'm not surprised he stayed. Am I pleased he stayed? Yes. At times, I've been one of Højbjerg's biggest critic. He's not the most frustrating player for me, because I do think there is a player in there, and sometimes he can play a really good ball and he has got a half decent shot on him occasionally. So he's not at the bottom of the list for me. So I am glad he stayed. And I do think we're always going to need cover and stuff, Chris. You know, we're going to need that. You know, you look at the suspensions and injuries and stuff. So for me, no, because it's like listen, it's like the player we've just got in, you know, he's linked with Barcelona, he's linked with Bayern Munich. These players are coming to Tottenham partly because of Ange Postecoglou, but also because the proof is in the pudding. Look at the way we are playing. Look at the one-touch attacking football that we are playing week in, week out, home or away. It's exciting, you know, and everyone watches the Premier League and everyone is tuning in and everyone is seeing what's happening. And when you look at the team, and I know a lot of the other rival fans will say, oh, here we go again, suspensions and injuries, but you have to admit, when we got all of them injuries and suspensions, I did not expect us to be sitting in the top 4 once all that happened. And for us to be able to do that and get some of the results we've got with the changes we made. I mean, that's what frustrated me about the FA Cup game, because we went up to the Etihad earlier in the season, had so many players out, and we got that 3-3 draw and we could have beaten them. That's what really frustrated me. And that's why I say that's the only game this season I felt we didn't really give it a go and we weren't in it. But every other game, including City away, where no one gave us a chance, we played some amazing football. We really did.
It's a good point about the players choosing Tottenham Hotspur, because, of course, Ange said in his press conference, it's not about what we're saying, it's about what the players are seeing, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And long may this continue with us signing top talent. Gareth, let's come to you. What have you made of Everton so far this season? Of course, they have got that point deduction, as you mentioned, and they would be 12th in the Premier League table without it. They are currently 18th. They have 18 points from 22 matches, have a goal difference of -4. Their form of late isn't that great. They have won just one of their past 9 league games. Their most recent result was a 0-0 draw away at Fulham. Their last 5 games have drawn 2 and lost 3. What have you made of Everton this season? And with the players that they've got out, who are the threats for them?
Well, I mean, they were flying, I think, up until we played them for Christmas, and they lost to us, because I think they come on our game unbeaten in 5, and then now they haven't won in 5. And I think they got a draw. They got a draw against Fulham, and that stopped a bit of the rot, because I think they'd lost by 3 or 4 in a row. But I mean, Decore was their standout player. He obviously isn't available. Onana as well is a big loss. You know, you think about Everton. they're quite powerful and quite strong physically, and with them two missing, that's gonna really affect them on field. So Calvert-Lewin's been out of form, but what are Spurs like without a form strikers? They always seem to turn up and get their goal against. So he's a danger man. He's a good player. And eventually that run will end. So he's obviously a threat. Harrison can come on. He can play off the right, off the left. You know what Everton's going to do, Chris? They're going to get the ball. They're going to counter-attack. They're going to set up. Interestingly, I was at the game on Wednesday night, so I wasn't able to access TV, of course. I don't know if Craig or Gary, who were watching on TV, if Sean Dyche was in the stadium, because I met him. I didn't meet him. He walked past me at King's Cross Station at about 4:30, 4:45 on Wednesday. So there's some inside information. So I can only assume he was going to watch the game, because obviously they played Fulham away the night before. So why would he still be in London at that time? So I'm assuming he was at the game. And he was actually on the phone at the time. So I was trying to get his attention to try and get a photograph, but unless he was trying to be a late transfer deal or something on the phone. But he just walked straight past me. So I'd assume he was at the game to get a feel for what Spurs are going to be like. And you know you'll seen that Brentford had some joy in that first half in the counter attack. And towards the end, we crosses into the box, and that's basically what Everton are: counter attack, get the ball wide. They'll get the ball wide to two wingers and cross it into the box. They're a no nonsense team. And I think Gary says like that first goal is going to be so crucial. If we can get the first early goal in the first 5 or 10 minutes, kill the atmosphere, gives you a massive chance. Because I watched Everton against Man City just after they played us, and Everton won 0-up at half time, and it was a proper dogfight for Man City. And their quality showed. And I think, to be fair, Gary made a good point about, Man City being probably the only time they're disappointing. But Man City can do that to anyone on their day. And if you look at their team compared to ours, level for level, they're so much better than us. So
and Gareth, you know what? The bench as well. That was the thing. The difference
So although we were a bit disappointed because of how well we've been doing, I think when we played Man City in December, they were kind of out of sorts, and they've turned a corner since then. And the fact that De Bruyne come on, it completely changed it as well. Because although we weren't creating much, it was quite an even game until he come on, and that's when the chances started to come. So look, other than that, we don't have to worry about that. Everton's not going to play the same kind of way. It's going to be very much crosses. If we defend their boxes, Vicario's done really well this season at collecting and coming for the ball. Probably the only time he didn't do it was against Man City. For me, I thought it would have been soft. If that goal had been ruled out against us, I would have been fuming. So I just think it was one of them things where Vicario maybe got to be a wee bit stronger, but he's not let us down on any other occasions. And even on Wednesday night, he was very good towards the end.
It's 50-50, that one. But a similar thing with Alisson, that one was given as a foul. And
it's a consistency.
Me and Craig talk about this all the time. There's no
consistency. If the ref had disallowed the goal,
Liverpool and Chelsea, that was a foul against the Chelsea player. It's a penalty.
If the ref had disallowed the goal, it wouldn't have been overturned. But because the referee gave the goal, it wasn't clear and obvious enough to be overruled. So I think it's just one of them ones you have to take it. Would we have gone up to Man City? I think it would have been Tuesday or Wednesday this week now, and gone there and won anyway. So we didn't do enough in the tie. Disappointing to go to the FA Cup, but it was one of them draws. It was always a good chance we were going to go out. And what Man City are like this time of the year. Once that January, February hits, they go on a complete run.
Boom.
And from watching Man City last weekend, watching them how they played against us in December was like watching two different Man City teams, and we were just on the wrong end of it. So, but getting back to Everton, Chris, if we defend their boxes well, and we'll win this game. If we give cheap goals away and go 1-0 down, they'll make it a slog. They'll look for fouls. The crowd will be on their side. They'll try and break up the game, slow the game down like Brentford did in the first half. Chris, I think Ange made a great point with the players. Some of our players are far too emotional in the game. Too much yamming to the referee. Too much, if we play our football and let the game flow, we'll win loads of football matches. That's what happened to us against Chelsea. We had control of that game, and we go and give away a silly penalty, get a man sent off. Then second half, he gives away an hour foul down to 9 men. We're our own biggest enemies. If we just play our football, and I think Ange has alluded to that, we're going to win a lot of football matches.
Gareth, you mentioned Manchester City there. Can I ask you? I'm going to go a little bit off topic now. We'll come back to the Everton game in a minute. But when you mentioned Manchester City, who do you see as the real title contenders for this season? Because, of course, City are champions. We've seen them come back so often to lift that trophy. Liverpool, of course, Jurgen Klopp will be leaving at the end of the season. who do you think the main title contenders? And if I had to ask you all to predict who you think will win the league, who would it be for you, Gareth?
Well, look, this is a massive weekend in the Premier League, and the good thing that we all spent at 12:30 is if we can win our game, we're going to really profit this weekend with Arsenal playing Liverpool, because at least one of them has to drop points. Now, personally, Liverpool are 8 points ahead of us. If they were to lose, all the talk's going to be, especially if our fan base, if we beat Everton, we're back in the title race or whatever. But I just think the way the teams are playing, especially Liverpool and Man City, even if it is down to 5 points, 6 points, I just don't see them teams losing enough games, and we'd have to win every single game to even get on it. So I don't think we're quite ready for it. If it was kind of like it was first half of the season where a lot of teams were dropping points, but
we are going to be stronger.
We are going to be stronger, but I would nearly think we'd have to win every single game between now and the end of the season. They won the league, and I don't think we could afford any slip ups, because the standards, that it's back to how it was now in previous seasons since sort of the turn of the year. That end of December, month of January, Man City have really kicked into gear. Liverpool, to be fair to them, have missed players. You look at Salah, Szoboszlai, Trent, and they've won every game since. That's what we're up against. So for me personally, and it's great to see Arsenal get beat as well as a Spurs fan, so I would rather see Liverpool win it, just because I think the highest we could possibly finish is third. I think Liverpool and Man City are going to be clear. I don't see Liverpool losing on Sunday, Chris. I think at best it'll be a draw. So all that being off the end, Arsenal would still be 5 points there, so probably still on it. If Liverpool were to win that game, Arsenal's out of it. It becomes a 2-horse race. But I do see Man City as the favourites. I think it's impossible to write them off. The fact that they're not really playing catch up like they were last year. If they won their game in hand, they're only 2 points behind Liverpool, and they still have to play Liverpool again, albeit at Anfield. If you were banking on who's going to be more consistent, you would say Man City. But Liverpool's a funny team, Chris. You know what? They're probably my most rival team, because Ireland, my friends are all Liverpool fans, and when they're on this form, especially with Klopp announcing he's leaving, it's almost like a force. I just don't see them dropping any points at home. Maybe the only game I could see, it's Man City maybe going there. I think when we go there towards the end of the season, that's going to be I hope we have top 4 wrapped up, because if you're going to Liverpool, I think that's their second last home game. The crowd, the club factor, that's going to be very difficult. So Liverpool's the only team I can see stopping Man City, but I still think Man City would have to be off it for that to happen. I think Man City will be favourites, but I think Liverpool will take them all away, Chris. I really do. And I think within the next 2 or 3 weeks, possibly even by the end of Sunday, it'll just be a 2-horse race. And I think very much we have every chance of catching Arsenal in third.
So you think Man City win the league, yeah?
Man City first, Liverpool second. I'm going to go Spurs third, Arsenal fourth.
Okay. Craig, what about you? And I'm going to add another question in. Are Spurs title contenders?
Look, mathematically, of course, you could say we are, but I don't think we are. Very, very much echoing what Gareth said. There's only 2 teams in it for me. It's Liverpool and City, and I think City are going to win it. It's funny because Liverpool, I don't think, had a brilliant start to this Premier League season, but they've just seemed to be, starting to get going again. I don't know if Salah's injured still, so I think he's out the game Sunday.
He's out.
I think he's back the week after.
He's out. Right, yeah. I mean, Nunes hit the post about 4 or 5 times the other night. I think he's very rough diamond. I mean, he's so fast, but I think Alan Shearer said it's a sign of a good striker. You just keep going. He just keeps going, keeps trying, keeps going.
I think he's out as well for this weekend.
Oh, is he? Right. Well, look, I still don't think Arsenal are going to win at Anfield. They might get a draw, but I personally think there's only 2 teams in the title race. Oh, is it?
Yeah,
actually, with Chris said, Klopp did say Nunes was out, but apparently he trained after. So apparently Nunes, my Liverpool friends were telling me Nunes is actually fit.
Oh, cool. Of course, because we're away. Of course, yeah. That's interesting. Then I think it might be a draw.
If we had see that 5 games, Chris, if we had sort of got a bit more points, if we had a bit West Ham, a bit Villa, we probably would be on it. But I think them were the 2 games that really cost us, and we didn't do much wrong. But that's just the standards that high.
Thing is, it's errors against West Ham that cost us that game. They didn't deserve to win that game. It was our own. That was our own fault, wasn't it?
Same thing as Brentford, Craig, isn't it?
It was, yeah, a doggy, and obviously it nearly cost us against Brentford, didn't it? Obviously, but we
the Villa game we could have scored 6 goals. We just couldn't put our chances away against Villa.
Yeah, but with our style of play, I get it. You're going to get teams that are going to getting behind us. But that was human error. That was human error, wasn't it? But
Yeah.
even both those. I mean, Udogie gave it away on the halfway line for the first goal, didn't he? So,
but that's what I can't understand. He's done that twice, hasn't he? And he's such a great player, but I don't know what happened there. Like against Brentford and West Ham, it was like carbon copy.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, but he's so capable of producing magic up the other end, as we've seen a couple of times. But as regards points, I mean, I think our maximum points we can get now is 91. Certainly 91, 92. And if you think our maximum or our biggest Premiership points tally is 86, I think. So, like Gareth said, we'd have to win almost every game.
I think you'll need 90 points. They want it, so that would make us haven't won every game.
You never know.
It's quite possible. But no, I don't think we're in.
If we got the April, because the Chelsea game is postponed for the League Cup. If we got the, God knows when that'll be played because they're in the final. We haven't got too many of the big hitters to the end of the season. If we got the Newcastle away and that starts that run of 4 games, and we were sitting, say, 3 points behind, and we had that run, at least it will be in our own hands. Because if we did beat Arsenal, did beat Liverpool, and did beat Man City, you'd probably say we deserve it. So if we can if we won every game up until then, you never know. We might be within striking distance, and then it'll be in our own hands. But having all them games back to back, Chris, will be very, very difficult. Our only hope will be Liverpool's in the Europa League. Maybe they'll go far on that. Arsenal's and Man City. Hopefully, I hope Arsenal get to the semi-final of the Champions League and then get knocked out, because at least they've more games to play. We've got, if we keep everyone fit, 1 game a week, who knows?
Well, Gareth, you've said Man City to win the league. You've said Spurs to finish 3rd. Craig, what are you going with?
I'll go exactly the same. Exactly the same. City to win,
Gary?
Spurs to finish 3rd.
Yeah, there's a horrible feeling, though, that's telling me that Arsenal could finish above us, but we'd still get 4th place. But I'm not going to say that, so I'm going to go exactly the same as well.
Right, okay.
What about you, Chris?
I'm not sure.
Oh, come on, you can't do that.
Get off the
I'm
fence.
not sure. I think let's see how the next month goes. Because you never ever know in football.
I agree with
Spurs
you,
could go on a fantastic winning run, and we could win every single game until the end of the season. Because when you think about what Andrew said, and when you think about what all of us Tottenham Hotspur fans have seen so far this season, with all the players coming back from injury, suspensions, and whatever else. We could be in a really good place, but you'll
know more after this weekend, because if Liverpool go and beat Arsenal, there's no chance of a title, because they're not going to lose 3 games, no chance. So they'd be 8 points clear. We have better goal difference. But if Arsenal were to go on one, it does drag. It probably puts us back in the conversation. So it's a difficult one.
Gareth, I don't ever concern myself about what other teams are doing. All I think about is Spurs getting the win, and I think if we can go on a fantastic winning run now, from now until the end of the season, you never ever know what could happen. Anyway, Craig, let me come back to you, because let's have a look at the form that Everton and Spurs are in. As I mentioned, the last 5 games, Everton have drawn 2 and lost 3. They haven't scored a goal in their last 3, losing to Wolves 3-0 and 2 0-0 draws recently at home against Aston Villa and away at Fulham. And as we know, Spurs, the last 5 games, 3 wins, 1 draw and 1 defeat. That defeat coming away at Brighton. Craig, what have you made of Everton so far this season? Of course, they are within a year or so going to be moving into their new stadium as well. That's going to be strange not going to Goodison Park anymore, such a historic stadium to visit. But what have you made of Everton so far, and what have you made of the job that Sean Dyche has done at Goodison?
I think as soon as they got that points deduction, it galvanised them. You could see it did, and they went on a bit of a run, didn't they? And I thought, did they win 4 or 5 games in a row, and obviously pushed themselves well out of that relegation zone? And then they've kind of hit the buffers. As you put up on the screen there, they haven't had the best of results the last 5 games. I always take things like form with a pinch of salt, though, because we've seen it so many times where a team's come to our place, or we've gone to their place, and the other team's doing so badly, and like we've sort of caved. So, but I think those days are getting fewer and far between now with Tottenham. I don't think that when necessarily when I think about Tottenham now. I just think we're made of a bit of sterner stuff. Taking the game to them, it's kind of proved that the best way, like attack, is the best form of defence. So, look, it's going to be a tough game, as I said before. Dyche is not. He's a very astute manager. I don't think people will give Dyche enough credit, to be honest with you. I think he's a very good manager. That's not to say I'd want to see him managing Spurs, because I don't particularly like his style of football. But that's not to say I don't appreciate that he's a good Premiership manager. And
he reminds me of Gary a little bit.
Really?
Sorry, Gal.
I'll take that. A bit younger than me, don't he?
You need to grow a goatee, Gary. Yeah, but look, it's gonna be a tough one. Everton are a funny side. You never quite know what you're going to get. It's really strange, because obviously when I was a kid, I remember Everton reaching FA Cup finals and challenging Liverpool for the league in the mid-80s. So, and of course, they're only one of 5 teams, I think it is, that have never dropped out of the Premier League, along with us, Arsenal, Liverpool, and United. So, they're no mugs. But I still think we're going to have too much for them tomorrow.
Yeah.
In terms of entertainment and in terms of goals in this game, Gary, let me come to you on this one. Everton have kept a league high 6 clean sheets since the start of December. But there have been just 23 Premier League goals scored at Goodison Park this campaign, 4 fewer than any other stadium. And Everton have the 3rd worst home record in the Premier League, earning just 11 points. Do you read much into that?
Well, you can and you can't, but it's like form, like what Craig said, goes out the window. I mean, look at Luton and Brighton. No one really expected Luton to hammer Brighton 4-0 like that, is it? Listen, I just feel our record against Everton is such a good record. There's always a lot of goals. I think it's going to be a very open game, and I do generally think, there's going to be definitely a few goals, and we're going to walk away from there with a win. And I think, and let's be honest, we're talking about top 4. And we're talking about maybe challenging league. If we go to Goodison Park and don't get a result, then we don't deserve any of it, do we? You've got to be going up to teams like that that sit in the bottom half table. What are they, 17th, 18th? You have to be going up there, getting a win. I know it was tight at our stadium and they almost got an equaliser at the end, but we need to be going on the road to teams like this. And this is where we need to be comfortably winning. And Gareth touched on it. I think it is paramount we get an early goal, because the longer this goes on, even if we go behind, I'm not going to panic. I didn't panic, went behind to Brentford, but we need to be just getting the lead in this game early and just calming down a little bit, not playing all these silly games, because it'll be like the Brentford game. If we go 1 down, the fans, the players start winding us up and we'll get frustrated. It becomes difficult and the time wasting will come in. And we know Sean Dyche is great for time wasting. So we get a goal in the first 10, 15 minutes, settle us down, and we go on and we comfortably win that game. I think we can easily put 3 or 4 past them tomorrow. No issue whatsoever. And I think where we are and where Everton are at the moment, we should be doing that.
Gary, is it fair to say that Spurs are the most entertaining Premier League team to watch this season? Because I'll give you another stat here. Since the end of last season, Tottenham's away Premier League games have produced a division record 113 goals.
Yeah, honestly, we are amazing. It makes me laugh, because even like last season games that we won, I mean, we beat West Ham 2-0, I think it was, and I was falling asleep at the stadium. I remember leaving there with my boy and saying to him, we've won, but it doesn't really feel like we've won. And the atmosphere was dead, and we weren't playing exciting football. Now, even when we're losing a lot of the games, like we said against Villa and West Ham and stuff like that, there's still better entertaining games. But on the road, we've been playing some great football. And to be honest with you, we're just as threat away at home as what we are at home. I used to feel in seasons gone by, we've got more chance of winning at home than what we have away. But I don't feel like that now. I generally think whatever stadium we go to, I feel we can get 3 points. I really do. And I don't often say this, but I do feel this year we can go to Anfield and Stamford Bridge and win both games. And I've never said that before. But I genuinely feel if ever there's a season we can go to Anfield and Stamford Bridge and get a win at both, I think it's this season. I really do, with the football we're playing. Yes, when we go to Anfield, we're going to have VAR against us. Don't get me wrong, after what happened at our ground. But I still do feel VAR aside and the referee and everything else, we can go to Stamford Bridge, Anfield, and we can comfortably beat Arsenal, at our ground. These sort of games, I'm really confident. It's because of the football we're playing. It's because of the players we've got back. It's because of what we brought in January. It's brilliant. It's really good to be a Tottenham fan.
Let me just say before I come to you, Gareth, many congratulations to Spurs captain Heung-min Son. He has just led South Korea into the semi-finals of the Asian Cup. So many congratulations to everyone involved. Son and Basuma, of course, will not be available because they are both on international duty. So they won't be featuring in this Everton game. But Pape Matar Sarr is back for this game. Ange Postecoglou said that he will feature in some capacity at Goodison Park. And Postecoglou also answered the question about James Maddison's fitness and said, can he start again, twice within 72 hours? Andrew's reply was, he's a professional footballer, mate. So, yes, he can. Now, on the screen now, I've put the lineups from Everton's previous game, the 0-0 draw against Fulham, and Tottenham's previous game against Brentford. Our lineup, Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, Skip, Bentancur, Kulusevski, Maddison, Timo Werner, Richarlison. And of course, as we all know, Postecoglou made 2 changes at half-time. Johnson and Højbjerg coming on for Skip and Bentancur. Gareth, let me come to you on this, because after what we saw happen at half-time and that dramatic change, what do you see Postecoglou going with? Because also in his press conference today, he said that I will always choose the best possible 11 to win the football match. Out of the starting 11 on the screen and the starting 11 that faced Brentford, what changes do you see Postecoglou making ahead of this Everton game?
And interesting, because it's possibly the first game in a long time, especially in midfield, and possibly in attack. He's got a lot of options to choose from. With a lot of players back from injury, and obviously Sarr back from international duty. For me, I would go with the same team that started the second half against Brentford. I think Højbjerg doesn't deserve to be dropped. I think he was outstanding. I think Bentancur, the Man City game, was really poor, kept giving the ball away. And unfortunately, and as much as I like Bentancur, because the fans like him and maybe don't like Højbjerg as much, people won't talk about it as much. People's quick to jump on Højbjerg as soon as he makes a mistake. Look, players make mistakes. I think Højbjerg, and I prefer Kulusevski in midfield than I do out wide, because he's forever cutting on that left foot, and left backs can read him like a book. Now, he won't hit the ball with his right foot. They always know he's going to come on side. And because Porro and Udogie, but Porro on the right side, where Kulusevski plays inside, there's no overlap anymore. So there really is no other option for Kulusevski to even go make a pass to his outside. It's always inside. So I think you see the best of Kulusevski in midfield. So for me, I would go with Højbjerg, Kulusevski and Maddison, and the three in midfield, and then Johnson, Richarlison, and Werner front three. That's the way I would go, just because it works so well the other night. And Johnson made a great impact when he come on, and he gives us something different. I think him and Werner give us a bit of woof, because I think with these, as much as I love Porro and Udogie coming inside, you see in that first half, Chris, we're very narrow, and there's no option, especially in the right side, they go out. So it was always coming to Werner. So I think having that balance with the two wide men definitely makes us a bit more balanced. So that'll be the way I would go. Skip, for me, he tries, but he's not at the level. I think in the summer he definitely needs a move. I think I would rather keep Højbjerg over than Skip in the summer, but I think there's a good chance Højbjerg will be moved on. If we seem to be forever linked with Conor Gallagher, I think he'll have a year left in his contract come the summer, so that deal will be more doable. And I think Højbjerg's contract running down as well, so I'm sure Højbjerg will probably be he'll be committed, but I'm sure this will be his final season. As I say, I think Skip, he really needs a move, because I don't see him playing much next season if we're in the Champions League. I think for him, it'd be better off moving to a lower league Premier League team. He tries his best, but just not up there, Chris.
Gareth, just quickly, who is the main threat for Everton? Who are you worried about?
Well, I mean, he's not been great for them, but the fact that Jim has played for Spurs, it's just something about that scares me. He hasn't scored for a while either, so he's due a goal. Calvert-Lewin, as I say, is due a goal. Harrison will get the ball and whop it into the box, can whip a ball in. But other than that, Chris, I think you nailed it with your sort of preview there of your analysis, Everton's strengths lie in defence. So, I mean, they're not a team that's going to blow you away and score loads of goals. So they're really going to try and make it a slog and win this 1-0 or 2-1 at a push. Everton, I mean, they don't want this to be a high-scoring game, because if they do, they'll not be able to. If it's a basketball game and it's you have a shot, we have a shot, we'll win 6-2 or 6-3, and that's not what they want. So they're going to make it very, like Yari says, home or away, doesn't matter. We Spurs anymore. We play the exact same way wherever we go. The only difference being in a game like this is the pitch is a lot tighter, so we won't have as much space and stuff. But that's up to us to play our football. I think Kulusevski and Madison playing in midfield, they are the types of players that can open up defenses. So they need them to be on their game. And the way Richarlison's been playing, he's really surprised me. He's been doing really well. Not just his goals, but holding the ball up well and bringing our players into the game, which is not something that's been associated with him. It's more about the headers and getting on the end of crosses and scoring the all goal. But his overall build-up play, like a lot of the players we've seen, have improved under Ange. And this was my criticism with Jose and Conte is when they were here. Yes, there was some decent results at times, but they never really improved players. All right, they never coached them on the better players. You look at Kulusevski, who would have thought he could play in midfield? Who would have thought Porro can come in and play a Trent Alexander-Arnold role? Udogie was a left winger. Who would have thought to see him play at left back? He's done some really, really good work with a lot of the players. So for me, it's really just about no careless mistakes, because you don't want to be playing against Everton crowd 1-0 down. It's a totally different game. They being at home to Brentford. If you're 1-0 down away at Everton, it's a really, really slog. So get the early goal, and this will be not comfortable, but we'll win, I think, if we get that first goal.
I'd also like to say that Michael from the Unholy Trinity Everton podcast gave us a preview a couple of days ago, so do check that out on the channel. He did actually go with a 1-0 Everton win. That was his prediction. Craig, let me come to you. Out of that starting 11 that faced Brentford, what would you change if it was you? Because it's great to have Pape Matar Sarr back. Ange alluded to it that he will be tired because of travelling, but he will be involved. As I mentioned about James Maddison, he is expected to be in the starting 11 again. What would you change if it was you?
Yeah, similar to Gareth, actually. I quite like that second half team, almost playing with two number 10s in Maddison and Kulusevski. I said the other night, I don't think it would be fair to drop Højbjerg, but having said that, Højbjerg, I thought all season has been better coming off the bench as an impact substitute, which you wouldn't normally say for a defensive midfielder. It's really strange, but every performance he's put in, he's kind of steadied the ship, and that's exactly what we needed on Wednesday. Just somebody to come in, put the foot on the ball, but he had a hand in two of our goals. I mean, I just thought he was sensational. So it's a difficult one, because that would involve dropping Bentancur, and I would never think I would say that you've got to drop Bentancur for Højbjerg. So it's a really tough one, and I don't actually know the answer. I don't think it would probably be a wise move unless Ange sees that he is fit enough and ready to put Sarr straight back in. I think he could be probably better utilised as a substitute tomorrow. But certainly Johnson played well when he came on. Really impressed with Werner. Richarlison obviously got another goal, 7 in 7 now. So that kind of picks itself. It's just what he does. And I genuinely don't know the answer to that. Only Ange would, he sees them every day in training. Ideally, for me, like I say, the second half team last week probably deserves another go. But it means starting Højbjerg. And as I say, he's never played as well this season starting them than coming on as a sub. So it's a difficult one. I don't
Craig,
really know
I think the thing with Bentancur, sometimes in that 6 roles, we're just far too open in the counter-attack. I think like Brentford first half, we're getting on too easy. I think Højbjerg's better at breaking up the game, and almost Bentancur, Kulusevski and Madison, it's probably too attacking, even though it would be more entertaining. We're just conceding far too many chances for the break.
Craig, what happens when Sonny comes back? Does Timo Werner then drop to the bench?
That's a really good, interesting one, isn't it? And it's a good problem to have for Ange, isn't it? I mean, we all said that we would prefer Sonny out on the wing, even though he's got 12 goals this season. But we can clearly say I personally think he's better on the wing, on the left wing. I mean, Werner could play on the right as well, couldn't he? He is right-footed at the end of the day, but he does like his wingers to come in and take the odd shot, which Werner, obviously we haven't seen Werner do that yet, but he's kind of each game with Werner, I know he hasn't had that many, but he just seems to be getting a bit more confident each game, which is good. You're seeing him running at players, going past players, utilising that pace. He didn't even look up for that cross for Johnson's goal. He just knew where he was on the pitch. He knew the area he wanted to put it into, rolled it across, Johnson taps it in. It's easy. When you see it like that, it's easy. Just use your pace, getting behind, cross the ball. And it's like Gary Lineker always used to say. He said, "I was always in the right place. The ball was never in the right place." And that's what you got to think like a striker, you know. And if that ball's in the right place, you slide it home. So it's just a good problem to have. In answer to your question, he's got to come straight back in because he's our captain. But what do you do with Werner? Do you just use him as an impact sub? Can Werner play through the middle? He probably can. So perhaps Werner could challenge Richarlison and play as almost like a false nine. I wouldn't call him a centre forward, but he can certainly play anywhere across that front line. So, but you know what? It's good to have options up there. It's really good to have the options, and it keeps them all on their toes. You know, the days of Harry Kane used to perform in most games, but there was no one to challenge him. And we haven't got that anymore. We haven't got that player who's almost in no danger of being taken off. You know, we haven't got that anymore, and that's what you need. You want them fighting for their positions. You don't want them to stagnate and think, oh, you know, nobody's going to come on for me. I'm never going to get taken off. It's good to see that. It's good to see, in my opinion.
Absolutely, yeah. Gary, let's come to you. Two players I'd like to discuss. Richarlison, 7 goals in his last 7 Premier League games. And James Maddison. Spurs picked up 29 points from 12 games with James Maddison and only 14 points from the 10 games that he missed. How important is James Maddison to Tottenham and this starting 11? And what have you made of Richarlison in the last 7 games, 7 goals?
Oh, I mean, God, I think anyone could answer this. I mean, Maddison is just, he's a breath of fresh air. He was such a big miss for us. And, you know, I think we were all just praying when he came on against City, but it was too soon. He's just come back. He got 15 minutes, wasn't enough, but you got a lot of it against Brentford. And you mark my words, tomorrow afternoon, Chris, when you're at Goodison Park and we thrash them 3 or 4-0, you're going to say, wow, Maddison and Richarlison bossed that game. Because this game has come at the perfect time for Werner, Richarlison, and Maddison. It's absolutely perfect. I don't think I'd want to be playing any other team at the moment other than Everton away. And honestly, it's going to be... I already know we're going to play some great football, but, you know, Richarlison... I mean, so many people writ him off. And there was a point, you know, we were all getting frustrated and we were all messaging each other and stuff and that. And, you know, he had his little injury and he came out about his mental health and stuff. And then, wow, since then. And for me, yeah, he's getting the goals. Yeah, he's getting the assists. But if you watch Richarlison, the amount he's running back, defending, hassling the goalkeeper when he's kicking the ball out, he just does not stop. He's pressing in that second half against Brentford was exceptional. I totally agree with you, Gary. Honestly, Chris, absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I'm watching him run up and down that pitch and hassling the goalkeeper. And there was a few occasions where the keeper didn't quite kick it out properly and they were all getting a bit nervy. And that's where you get your throw-ins and, you know, and they're trying to pass it, you know, play out from the back. And when you've got a player like Richarlison who's, you know, obviously it's great he's getting goals as well because that gives him the more confidence. But his work he's doing is absolutely unbelievable. And Maddison, I mean, I just think Maddison is just, you know, he's like a new modern Paul Gascoigne. I just think Maddison would play even if he didn't get paid because he's just so good at it and he has so much fun. And it's not just about football with Maddison. It's everything around the banter, the social media, you know, all that stuff with Mope. This is just what he does. You know, he done that with Saka early in the season. He just loves it. And he pops up, you know, with... You know, the dart player, he's everywhere. And I'm
surprised.
So
I'm surprised you got to an hour in this podcast without mentioning Neil Maupay.
But do you know what? I do get Andrew frustrated with all of that, but I do like to see some of that. And I think it makes it even sweeter when you've got those players on your team, you know, and he's coming out, you know, end the story and all that, and he's doing all this. I just love it, and I love Maddison and Richarlison. For me, I think he's been one of the hardest working players for us, and he's been brilliant. And honestly, Chris, tomorrow you're going to be leaving Goodison Park buzzing. You really are buzzing.
I certainly hope so. Before I get your score predictions for the Everton v Spurs game on Saturday, let's hear from former Everton striker James Beattie. Of course, he played at Goodison Park between 2005 and 2007. This is what he had to say on the game on Saturday.
Hi, Chris, and everybody at the Spurs Chat Podcast. James Beattie here, and my thoughts on the Everton Spurs game this Saturday. Everton sort of started the season off pretty poorly, and everybody thought they were going to be cannon fodder, relegation candidates, until they got the 10-point deduction, which seemed to galvanise the team and the club, and they went on a really good run, winning 4 games on the bounce. But since then, I think they've sort of reverted to type and getting in intermittent results. But standout players for Everton are Abdoulaye Doucouré in the midfield. Whenever he seems to play well, the team seems to play well. Dwight McNeil, another influential player. And James Tarkowski in the centre of defence sort of epitomises the spirit that Everton can display at times. Tottenham, on the other hand, with Ange Ball, started off the season really, really well. Then came into a period in November which was particularly difficult, not winning a game. But since then started to pick up some great results, pretty indifferent. And I think the standout players for Tottenham are Heung-min Son. Love the way he plays. Always seems to have a smile on his face. Pedro Porro is another really good player, and James Maddison, when he's fit, James's ratings are sort of right up there with the best. So my memories were all at White Hart Lane, giving away my age a little bit there, but White Hart Lane used to be my favourite stadium out of all the stadiums that I played at. And I think one of the good memories for me being there would not particularly be a good memory for some of you, Spurs fans, but it was when Glenn Hoddle had previously left Southampton about, 6 to 8 months before, and we came to White Hart Lane and we won 3-1. I scored 2 goals, and after the game, Glenn got sacked, which I guess is football irony. But that was a fond memory for me, and probably one of the best games I played at White Hart Lane. Not the fact that Glenn got sacked, but the outcome of the game was a nice memory. I think the score, I think Spurs will win. As I say, I think Everton have reverted to type. They're sort of very up and down. But if Spurs can go there and play the way that they can, then I believe a positive result will be for Spurs. Okay, thank you.
So many thanks to James Beattie for supplying that clip. Gareth, before I come to you, the match officials for the game on Saturday, the referee will be Michael Oliver. His assistants will be Dan Cook and Wade Smith. Fourth official, Andy Madley. VAR, Stuart Atwell. And assistant VAR, Harry Leonard. Gareth, lastly, your score prediction for this game.
I'm pretty confident with one. Not as confident as Gary's 3 or 4-0 job. I think it'll be much more difficult than that. Tough. I think it's going to be tough still. I think Spurs will be too strong, but I'm going to go for a 2-1-1.
I agree. 2-1. 2-1 Spurs. That's exactly what I'm going for. Craig, what are you going for?
I think I said the other night 2-0, and I haven't changed my mind. I don't think we're going to concede, so I'm going to stick with that. 2-0 Tottenham and a Werner goal.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? And Gary?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a comfortable win, but I think we are going to concede because Tottenham, probably Dan Jim will get it. But I think we'll beat them 4-1. Maddison will score. Werner will score. and Richarlison will get 2.
Wow. Do you know what, Gary? In all the time I've known you, this is probably the most confident and positive you've ever been on this podcast. What's happened
do you know what? There's a couple of reasons for that.
It's the Ange effect.
One, it's Friday night, and I'm
Friday night. Yeah.
2, we had a great win against Brentford. 3, we're playing amazing football, and 4, we have got a great record against Everton. You know, and I can remember so many games over the years where it's been high-scoring games. I mean, look, even that one time we lost to them in the FA Cup, it was still like 5-4. You know, like it's one of those games where there's always ridiculous amount of goals, and I think we're going to go up there and we are really going to get a great result. I really do think it, honestly. I do.
Do you know, one of my favourite players, Jurgen Klinsmann, of course, his home debut was against Everton, and that's where he scored 2 goals and, of course, done that dive over by the fans. Fantastic scenes. Gary, thanks so much for joining us. Where can people find you? What are you up to at the moment?
Is that me?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I didn't catch the name. I'm just working all weekend. I'll be doing my usual performing on stage. I'm doing parties on Sunday. I'm in Kent. I've got a brunch. And I've got a new thing I'm doing now, Chris, which is I've been doing a lot of weddings. I don't know if you see it on my social media. So if anyone needs a wedding car, that's a new venture I've been doing. You know, you've got to get the money in for the gas and electric prices now and everything else. And Spurs tickets ain't getting any cheaper. So I want to keep watching my beloved team and going to games. I've got to earn a bit more. So, that's what I'm doing.
Has Ange phoned you yet for the Spurs day?
No, not yet. I'm still waiting.
Do you do party buses and trophy parades as well?
I do everything, mate. Yeah, I can't find the trophy at the moment, but when I find it, I'll be parading it.
You never know what Gary's doing next. I tell you, he's like Del Boy, the real life Del Boy.
About 5 jobs.
Yeah, love it. Well, Gary, thanks so much for coming back. Gareth, I know you've got to go, so we'll hurry this up because, of course, you're recording your own podcast. Tell everyone about that. Where can people find it, and where can people find you?
So it's a 12-man podcast. You'll find it on YouTube. I've actually got an Arsenal fan and a Liverpool fan on now. Starting literally as soon as I come off. So we'll be previewing the big game on Sunday. And we'll also look at the rest of the Premier League games. But we'll be focusing on that particular game this weekend. So one fan from each side. So it'll be interesting to get their thoughts ahead of Sunday's game.
Well, Gareth, thank you so much. And everyone head over to Gareth's podcast immediately after this. And Craig, thanks so much. As usual, you've been a fantastic guest as normal. See you on here again soon. Where can people find you?
On Twitter, if you want to give me a follow, that'd be great, at DMN9. Thanks for having me on, Chris. Looking forward to the game. Are you going to have a quick trip to their new stadium tomorrow? Or are you
if there's time.
Too far away? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
It's not very far away at all from Goodison, but I'll tell you what, like I mentioned earlier, that is going to be very, very strange because it is such a historic place, Goodison Park, and one of the oldest stadiums in the UK, and so many great moments has happened at that stadium.
Is this our last game at Goodison then, Chris? Is this our last game at Goodison?
Sorry?
Is this our last game at Goodison Park?
No, it'll be next season.
Next season.
The end of next season, and then they'll move in. Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, Gary, Craig, Gareth, thanks so much for your time. Let's hope that Spurs can continue this winning form and keep climbing up that Premier League table and mainly stay in that top 4 place to try and get Champions League football for next season. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend. Come on, you Spurs.